food, fighting, fashion, fantasy, and fucking. If you don't like any of those things, then you're not going to be reading Caliostro, The Tale of the Lyvirten by D.L. Tillery. This is horror, it's dark fantasy romance, it's all the things. And so I'm going to have a short book review of not just this book, but also the short stories Fractals and The Room Within. Um, just a little disclaimer, D.L. Tillery sent this to me just as an exchange for an honest review. And so here we go. And also, if you missed it, check out my author interview with D.L. Tillery, which was absolutely incredible. All right, so enter these characters. So over here is Caliostro. He is in a veiled realm. Not just anyone could get into this area, certainly not humans. That is until Allison comes into play. Caliostro senses a human struggling. Turns out it's Allison potentially drowning in a lake. He goes and saves her, and questions, adventure ensue. Why is this woman that, for all intents and purposes, seems human, alive in this veiled realm? It's just not possible. And so his guard's up. And on top of it, he now is trying to protect this human because when it comes to the supernatural creatures, they will sniff her out. And so Allison is a feisty person that just doesn't take someone telling her what to do as Bible. So Caliostro is seeing through the lens of this character that just feels like she's being controlled, but really it's like to protect her, which comes across really early on in the book, and I really like that dynamic because it creates like a friction to them. And honestly, reading this book, it felt like Jane Austen, Brothers Grimm's, and Anne Rice, if they all got together and had a K-drama baby. That's what this is, because there is so much yearning that goes on. I just felt like the author was like edging us all readers, and it was incredible. And I really was hinging on every potential kiss that these characters had. Something that DL does so well is world building. I read other fantasy and science fiction. Not all authors know how to world build in a way that feels natural and does not make me as a reader feel like there's an info dump. That's not the experience with this book, and I absolutely love that. Something else that stood out to me is the food. There's food throughout this book, and that is also an element that is so important to me, because where there's food, there's culture, there's community, it's part of the defining factor of world building. So when that's not really part of the story, it doesn't really completely feel real to me, and that's definitely something that the author brings to the table. Additionally, I feel like I'm paying compliments to this author, but also talking about what's nitpicky about my experience in the past readings, is that this author has detailed fight sequences laid out throughout, and that's something else that not all authors know how to do. And we could tell as a reader that, oh, this author has experience with fight sequences. I've read other books, and there'll be a fight and the author will just write the characters fought. That's about it. Or there'll be a punch, there's a little kick here, and then that's it. This is something for people that are a lover of even action movies. You will enjoy how D.L. Tillery captured action sequences. I can't say it enough. Another element that we're going to talk about throughout, not just Caliostro, but one of the other short stories, is how much of fashion actually plays into not just crafting the characters and how they exist, but really weaves a story. And so for Caliostro, so much of his look has to do with displaying of power, and what a badass character this really is. I really loved it, and that's something also that Allison comes into. What is she wearing it? Why is she wearing it? How did she come across it? So there's this constant mystery playing out throughout this book that really worked for me. Another element that is completely original, and you're not always going to see this with other writers, is the unique take on supernatural figures. There are plenty of books. I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to figure out what I could liken this to. You know, there's Dracula. There's werewolves. Books of that nature where there's like a set defined way how a vampire is, and then as time went on, what was it, the late 80s is when Anne Rice's novel came out, and then that really like flipped how vampires are perceived. And so what this author does is something similar to that. They create their own unique supernatural entities. You'll be familiar with what the characters are, but there's a crafting of like folklore in a way. Like, how do we perceive these characters and how their origins were, and what are they really? What is D.L. Tillery's take on these supernatural creatures? And they are definitely unique. I blasted through Caliostro. If you don't believe me, I have my sprint because I read the book in one day. I was like maybe 4 chapters at most away from finishing the book by the time I had to interview the author. So I blasted through that book in one day. And so I'd say I was riveted. Okay, I was riveted. So if you've read the book, please let me know what you think. I'm going to go on over and talk about fractals. Fractals. This is going to be a theme with this author, and that is the air of mystery, the element of surprise, and I'd go far beyond just calling something that this author does as a twist, because what the author also does really well is lay the groundwork for where the story ends up, and even then you will not know where it's going. So Fractals is about a woman. She goes on a hike with her boyfriend. Things take a dark turn. They find themselves in the hospital. They don't know what happened to their boyfriend, and they're not really getting help from anybody to figure out what's going on. And it goes from there. I won't say anything else, but I was surprised. My jaw actually dropped. I really did. That literally happened. An actual event. Then we have The Room Within. I don't know how to talk about this because I feel like then I'm spoiling what the story is. This is about a person. They buy a house. They go into that house, and they got more than what they bargained for. Also a short story. Also completely threw me. And what I enjoy about, I believe, both these stories is that D.L. Tillery does not explicitly say, how do I say this without giving it away? What certain specific things are. I'm trying to be vague on purpose because I don't want to ruin your experience of these 2 books. And I thought that was also in itself. It takes great craftsmanship to not define a thing because they've left enough context for the characters to figure it out, if that makes any sense. And also, Fractals is definitely a short story that will reward you on a reread. I'll just say that. Going back to Caliostro, this is a bit of a chaotic review, and I'm trying my best to keep it short. We have Duncan over here. This man is a straight up boss. And in the back of Caliostro, in the version that I have, there is a bonus book, Winter Wolf, about this character. I'm not quite done reading it, so please do expect a review in the future about Winter Wolf. But I'll just say I get it now. This is a boss man, and it's pretty hot. And there's also another one, I believe it's called Obsessed, and it's with the character that I have not talked about over here. This is Delia. I forget. I know I'm saying the name wrong, and I did discuss with DL Tillery, and I still messed it up. This character is vicious in a way that I'm so glad to experience a woman being this vicious. I'll just say that. I want more of that. Let's make women more of the problem in a way that's pure entertainment. So, in short, what should you do? Should you buy or should you borrow? I say buy. Subscribe to DL Tillery's site, newsletter, get access to their short stories. It's worth it. And with that said, thank you, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and repeat DL's mantra and say, stay scared.